Most people think banks want you rich. They do not. They want you just comfortable enough to survive, but stressed enough to stay dependent. Not broke in a dramatic way, not bankrupt, just always a little short on cash. Just always one problem away from needing them. There is a line in the sand where that power flips, and it happens much sooner than people realize. That line is $20,000. Let me show you why that number quietly changes everything. Picture your life when your savings is close to zero. You wake up and check your bank app. You calculate every purchase. Gas, groceries, rent, a random bill you forgot. Every surprise feels dangerous. A tire blows out, a doctor visit shows up, a phone breaks. Suddenly, your whole month is upside down. When you live this way, money is not just numbers. It is stress, it is fear, it is constantly waiting for the next thing to go wrong. And that pressure pushes people into debt, into fees, into bad financial decisions. Now, imagine something different. Imagine having $20,000 sitting quietly in a savings account. Not for shopping, not for vacations, just there. Nothing magical happened. You did not become rich. But the way life feels changes instantly. A car repair is annoying, not terrifying. A job loss is frustrating, not catastrophic. A medical bill is stressful, but survivable. That one pile of cash turns emergencies into inconveniences. And that is exactly why banks hate it. Because when you reach that level of stability, their business model stops working on you. Banks make a shocking amount of money from people who do not have a buffer. Overdraft fees alone generate billions every year. One tiny mistake in timing can cost someone $30 or $40. Miss a few transactions, and it can snowball into hundreds. But when you have real savings, overdrafts disappear. There is always a cushion. That entire revenue stream dries up. Then there is high-interest debt. People who are short on cash get trapped using credit cards as emergency funds. They carry balances, they pay interest, they send thousands of dollars a year to the bank just for borrowing their own future money. When you have $20,000 saved, you do not need to borrow for surprises. You swipe the card for convenience, then pay it off in full. No interest, no profit for the bank. Inside the industry, people who do this have a nickname. They are called deadbeats. That is not an insult. It just means you use the system without feeding it. Banks do not want customers who cost them money. They want customers who need them. Even simple checking accounts become a trap for people without savings. Monthly fees, balance requirements, penalties. You end up paying just to hold your own money. But once you cross a certain level, those fees vanish. Minimum balances are easy to maintain. You stop leaking cash through small, invisible charges. There is another layer that matters even more. When you're stressed about money, your brain stops thinking clearly. You rush decisions. You accept bad deals. You say yes when you should say no because you do not have time or space to wait. That is incredibly profitable for companies. But when you have a cushion, your behavior changes. You become patient. You can compare options. You can walk away. You stop being easy to manipulate. The biggest shift happens in your relationships. If you live paycheck to paycheck, your boss has power over you. A toxic job becomes a prison because missing one check could ruin you. With real savings, that power disappears. You can quit, you can negotiate, you can choose better instead of settling. Same job, same boss, completely different position of strength. That is what $20,000 really buys you. Not luxury, not status, leverage. So how do you get there? It does not happen from one big move. It happens from boring consistency. First, you find any gap at all between what you make and what you spend. Even a small one counts. Then you automate it. Money moves to savings the moment you get paid. You treat that transfer like rent, non-negotiable. When extra money shows up, refunds, bonuses, gifts, it goes to the goal instead of disappearing into lifestyle upgrades. And you cut at least one thing that does not matter as much as your future does. $400 a month becomes almost $5,000 a year. Do that for a few years, and suddenly you are standing on the other side of the line. And once you cross it, life feels different. The fear quiets down. The options open up. The bank stops winning. $20,000 is not wealth. It is not freedom forever. But it is the moment when you stop being fragile. Below it, you are reacting to life. Above it, you can finally plan. If you want to make the system uncomfortable, start stacking your cushion. Because every dollar you save is one less dollar someone else gets to charge you for being desperate.